Let's move on to our next topic. So, Zac Robinson went on a podcast with his former PFF teammates. I believe it's called Check the Mic. Go check out that interview with Zach and all those other guys interviewing him. So, he basically had this to say about Michael Penix. Quote, there isn't a throw that he can't have on the field, unquote. And then he went on to say, we're definitely excited to see Mike in a full year with the season and getting more reps with the skill guys. We talk about this all the time, Jeff. We always say that people forget that he was just thrown into the fire last 3 weeks of the season, and he basically had minimal first team reps with the Falcons during practice all of 2024. So realistically, Jeff, what are your expectations for Michael Penix heading into year two?
I mean, for me, I have pretty high expectations of Kyle Pitts, of Michael Penix. I have really high expectations of Michael Penix here in year two, right? And I don't think there's no reason not to be honest with you. I remember last year, what was it, going into week 16 when Darnell Mooney came out and said, I haven't caught a pass from Penix at all. And he hasn't practiced with the ones at all. And then Raheem Morris had to kind of circle back and say, well, yeah, it's kind of my philosophy that if you're not with the ones, you're not running with the ones, which is really kind of weird, especially at the quarterback position, to not run your two out there every now and then just to get him some reps, given how volatile this league is when it comes to quarterback injuries, right? And how many quarterbacks don't finish the season every single year. So for me, I think it's really, really important for him this offseason. He's going to get all the snaps. He's gotten all the snaps. All the videos coming out from OTAs, he looks good versus air with no pads on. He should. He's a fucking NFL quarterback, right? Like, he should look good at that point. But for me, my expectations for him are to come out and look better than Jaden Daniels, look better than Drake May, look better than Caleb Williams, the three guys who went ahead of him in last year's draft, who I've been on record with saying that he is better than, right? So for me, I expect him, when it's all said and done at the end of the 17 weeks, at the end of the 18-week season, I expect us to look back and look back at the schedule and go, damn, he hung with Allen. He hung with some of the other guys. He looked better than Stafford did. He was arguably the second, third, maybe fourth best quarterback, out of the what, 14 or 15 teams the Falcons play every year, 14 additional teams. I expect him to be the number one quarterback in the NFC South. And I've said many times, and it pisses people off, I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan, right? I love Baker. I think Baker's immensely talented. I think he's a great guy. And it's a guy that, hell, I would have loved to have had here 3 years ago. That said, I still expect Michael Penix to take the reins of the NFC South that for me are up for grabs. And I expect him to be among the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks that Falcons fans will see this season. So, for me, I might have unrealistic expectations, but it's year 2 for this offense. He's loaded with talent around him. And I don't think people really understand, even if you take Kyle Pitts out of that. Drake London is emerging as a top, arguably top 12 to 15 wide receiver. And he can have a year where you start talking about him being a top 10 receiver, which would say something, because receivers in this league right now are really, really, really deep. And he has the talent to take another leap forward, right? And so I expect that. You have a guy like Bijan Robinson, who might be the most complete back in the NFL. And I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, and it's just a Falcons guy. But when you look at the ability to run, catch, block, there's not a lot of guys who do it better. And I think by the end of the year, if Bijan can stay healthy, we'll be making the argument that he is the best complete running back in the game. We obviously do have some questions up front. He did participate in OTAs. He did sign the waiver so that he could be here. But I've been very critical of him, and I'll continue to be very critical of him until he proves me wrong. I was one of the lone people who was not impressed with him last year. He was serviceable in the 7 games that he started, but there was quite the dramatic drop off between he and Drew Dahlman, and there's some ground that's got to be made up if he's going to be serviceable. So, but offensively, Bergeron was really good last year. Jake Matthews continues to be who he is. You look at Chris Lindstrom, he's absolutely the best guard in the NFL, and I don't think that's debatable at this point. Caleb McGarry obviously scares me, as the blindside tackle this year. Though it wouldn't shock me to see that potentially change by the time we get to week one. What is that, 15 weeks from now? But again, Charlie Warner, all of those guys, Darnell Mooney, and some other guys that we've got coming in. And I even see Nick Nash potentially taking a big step forward. And I know people, are kind of, pump the brakes. There's a reason he didn't get drafted. You can say that about several guys who fell through the cracks and ended up being really, really fucking good, right? So there's a lot of talent here. And for me, I expect Michael Penix to take advantage of that. And I also expect our OC to take a big step forward here too, calling plays here in year number 2. And that's going to be a big part of it.
Absolutely. And the one thing that Zach also stressed on that podcast was Michael Penix's athleticism. I think he mentioned that during UW's pro day in 2024, he ran a 4.4 40-yard dash. And I know that's just straight line speed, but when you have a QB that has a 4.4 in him, I mean, that's amongst the fastest straight line speed in the NFL. I mean, for reference, I think like Lamar's like mid 4.3. You have someone like Justin Fields who's really fast, who I believe was like 4.5 or high 4.4. So if Michael Penix could actually translate some of that really fast 40 time on the field, we not only have someone that has the pocket passing ability like a Stafford, but we'll also have somebody that's dynamic in the run game as well. So that part for me is exciting too. And I know a lot of people look at London, a lot of people talk about Mooney, but I'm actually excited to see Kaderil Hodge in this, in this year as well. I think he could also have an expanded role. We talked about it a few episodes ago. He had that game-winning touchdown against Tampa. I think he has it in him to be a positive contributor for the Falcons in 2025. So definitely lots to be excited about there. And it's so easy, Jeff. A lot of these stupid like Panther fans even other NFC South rivals, they just look at Michael Penix's bottom like stat line and they just see, okay, he threw 3 touchdowns and he threw 3 picks, like nothing really to see here. But you kind of read between the lines, you see that 2 of those picks were due to bobbled passes by the receivers, and then maybe one of them was on a wrong route. Like all of a sudden, his stat line looks a lot better. And considering the fact that, you look at Caleb Williams, who had all offseason running as the one. You have Drake May, yeah, he split with Jacoby Brissett, but he was much more, he had a lot more reps in him than Michael Penix did. You look at Bo Nix, who opened up as the starter, and Michael Penix started faster than any one of them. And I love that he actually got to sit for a little bit and learn from Cousins what it takes to be a pro and everything. And maybe if he just started right away, we wouldn't have seen him hit the ground running as fast as he could. But now couple this with a full offseason, I think that there's a lot to look forward to, and he could shock a lot of people.
I think the other parts of that, though, is all the quarterbacks you mentioned also played in the preseason. Penix got part of one game, and that was it. Oh, we're done. We're shutting him down. And I think, unfortunately, we're going to see that again this year, which to me just is absolutely ridiculous. I think the other part, you touched on it here when you talked about his 4.46 40. The most impressive number to me, and I'll tell you why, is that vertical jump that he had, 36.5 inches, which was better than every quarterback at the combine. You don't jump in the NFL, obviously, right? But what does that use? That's a really great measure of your explosiveness. And that is going to be really, really important for that guy as he continues to develop. And so that, his vertical jump to me just shows how explosive he is between his hips and his knees. And that to me is what has me excited, because he's not a runner, he's a pocket guy, but he's got the athleticism, he's got the explosiveness to really make some plays with his feet. And that, in turn, keeps defenses on their heels, which is what this team is going to need if it's going to continue to take a step forward and be as good as we think they're going to be.
If we look at the schedule, Jeff, at the end of 2025, I'm not trying to be biased here. I will call the Falcons bullshit anytime I see it, but I really think that this statement is on the table. Josh Allen is the only quarterback on our schedule that is undoubtedly better than Penix. I think that
Yeah.
statement could be made at the end of 2025. Everybody else, Jaden Daniels, Matt Stafford, Baker Mayfield, I think at the end of 2025, there is a chance where we say, well, you know what? Penix looked better, outdueled them, and going forward, rather have Penix. And I know that's probably not a stretch with someone like Stafford, who's on the back nine of his career, but Stafford's considered, I mean, if you poll people around the league at right now, he's probably at least a top 7, top 5 sort of start, something in that range. Like, he is a good NFL starter. Granted, probably not too many years left in him, but he's still very good.
No, I completely agree. I mean, when you run down that schedule, Baker Mayfield, you've got McCarthy, who he is better than. He's proven that on the field already. He's better. I'm sorry. He's better than Bryce Young and all the Panther fans, all three of you that continue to be in our mentions on the YouTube page. Keep it coming. We appreciate the support from you guys. Jaden Daniels, I've already said, Jaden Daniels is an elite quarterback. He showed it last year. I think he takes a step back. But again, I still think Michael Penix is better. Josh Allen is the one guy. Brock Purdy, again, a guy that's really disrespected, but I think a guy that Penix will challenge. And you go down, Tua, not even there. He faces Drake May. Again, another guy that part of that draft class. Carolina, New Orleans, nope. The Jets, nope. Seattle, nope. Indianapolis, he's a lot better than Anthony Richardson. Like, let's not even have that conversation, right? So to your point, when you look through this, there's some big name quarterbacks on this list, and we've mentioned half of them. But yeah, I said it 10 minutes ago. I do think at the end of the season, we're going to look back and go, Michael Penix, Josh Allen was the better quarterback. But other than that, Michael Penix outshined, probably everybody else. And that's the hope.